good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to This Is Now. I'm Dylan Ancheta alongside our Mark Carpenter, who is in for Ash. We begin today in Washington, D.C., where the U.S. House is one step closer to securing a speaker and resuming business.
That's right. The Republicans have selected Steve Scalise as their nominee, but debate is growing on whether he can secure full support on the House floor. Karen Kafa leads us off with our top story.
House Republicans have selected their nominee for House Speaker. Whether he can win a vote on the House floor will be the next question. No speaker means that no legislation is moving in the House at a critical time. But today, Republicans got together behind closed doors in the hopes of calming some of the chaos in their very divided caucus.
We've got to get back to work. Today we're going to do that. We're going to go get this done.
House Majority Leader Steve Scalise expressed optimism as his fractured caucus entered a closed-door meeting to choose between him and House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan as their Speaker nominee.
Support anyone who can get 217 votes.
And a majority of House Republicans, 113, voted to send Scalise's nomination to the House floor, where he will need to secure a majority of the full chamber, currently 217 votes. Democrats, united behind House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries as their Speaker nominee, urged their Republican counterparts to keep the process moving.
The House needs to have a Speaker. I mean, this is just chaos under the Republican mismanagement of the House of Representatives. And we're hopeful that they'll be able to have some clarity about what they want to do today.
Some Republicans entered the pivotal meeting still seething at their 8 colleagues who voted to oust Kevin McCarthy and spark chaos.
First of all, I condemn the 8 people who did this to our party. We are sitting vacant in a time that there's a need. But we have to get a speaker in position.
Supplemental aid to Israel and funding the federal government beyond November 17th will be immediate top priorities for the new speaker. And supporters of Scalise emerged from those closed-door meetings today optimistic that they could get a full House vote on his nomination today. But others emerged still steadfast in their support for Jim Jordan for Speaker. Others say they are still undecided. Scalise can only afford to lose the votes of 4 of his Republican colleagues if all are present and voting. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Well, the State Department now confirms 22 Americans are among the dead in the Israel attacks, and the war has claimed 2,200 lives on both sides so far. Bradley Blackburn has the latest from the United Nations and a warning. Some of the images in this report are graphic.
Israel continues to bombard Gaza, in this video coming perilously close to a hotel typically used by aid workers and media, as Hamas fires rockets from within the embattled territory. Israel's military says it killed dozens of Hamas militants Wednesday hiding in the Be'eri kibbutz area. At the nearby Kfar Aza kibbutz, Israeli security forces say terrorists took brutality to a new level, decapitating children, including babies.
You see the babies, the mother, the fathers in their bedrooms.
The Israeli Defense Ministry released video of the first delivery of advanced U.S. weaponry. President Biden and Vice President Harris spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu again Wednesday morning, voicing unwavering support.
And this moment, we have to be crystal clear. There is no justification for terrorism.
The United Nations Secretary General called for the immediate release of more than 100 hostages held by Hamas and expressed serious concern for any spillover from the conflict. The Palestinian ambassador to the UN pleaded for aid to be allowed into Gaza's 2.3 million residents. Israeli airstrikes have taken out entire city blocks, and Gaza's only power plant has run out of fuel.
There has to be a humanitarian intervention in order to avoid a looming catastrophe.
The U.S. is discussing the issue of safe passage for civilians from Gaza.
Civilians are not to blame for what Hamas has done.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is headed to Israel as the crisis grows deeper by the day. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, the United Nations.
As the death toll continues to climb in Israel to more than 1,000, we're learning horrific new details about Hamas's attack on a small village near Gaza's border. CBS's Holly Williams reports from Sderot, Israel, and a warning: the details in this story are graphic.
New horrors are still emerging from the communities where Hamas militants went on a bloody killing spree. After finally wresting back control of Kfar Aza kibbutz, a small farming community, Israeli security forces discovered the aftermath of a massacre. Residents were murdered wherever the gunmen found them. Israel's military told us multiple soldiers reported finding children who had been beheaded.
It was an absolute war zone.
It was an absolute war zone.
Cars flipped over, completely wrecked. We were sitting there, both of us, with our little innocent baby who was sleeping at the time. We were basically barricaded in for 21 hours until the army rescued us.
Israel's used to living in close proximity to its enemies, but the last 4 days have shocked this nation and shaken its sense of security. The question now is how Israel will respond. It's already raining down deadly airstrikes on the Gaza Strip from where Hamas militants launched their assault. Israel may be softening the territory for a ground invasion that's expected in the days ahead. Palestinian officials say 900 people have been killed so far, including children. Holly Williams, CBS News, Siderot in southern Israel.
The stories of heartbreak in separated families continue to surface. A Massachusetts man told CNN that members of his family were abducted in Israel after their home was lit on fire. Jason Greenberg says 4 of his cousins were taken by Hamas and has video of their capture. He says he still does not know the whereabouts of his relatives and is pleading with authorities for any updates.
A former Hawaii resident and teacher is stuck in the crossfire between Israel and Hamas. As our Jolani Martinez reports, her family is urging legislatures in the United Nations to help get her out of Gaza safely.
71-year-old Ramona Okumura was born and raised in Honolulu. She taught at Hawaii Baptist Academy before moving to Washington, where she became a medical technician. She was on a mission in Gaza to care for children when the war broke out.
She really has a passion for this and helping the kids there.
Miles Okumura worries every time his only sister, Ramona, takes off to Gaza. But he doesn't ever try to stop her. Ramona volunteers at the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, teaching workers at Hamad Rehabilitation Hospital how to fit child amputees with prosthetic limbs. Ramona is staying with Dr. Barbara Preston Zinn, who was doing an interview with CNN when a bomb went off nearby.
Well, whenever you go to Gaza, you always know that there's danger of some violence while you're there. But no, I wasn't. Well, sorry, prepared for this. I started.
Dr. Zinn and Ramona are waiting for visas from the Egyptian government to flee to the city of Rafah.
The biggest concern is that it's about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to drive from Gaza City down to Rafah. And so the worry is that the Israelis will, bomb the vehicle that we're in. And so we're working on trying to get some cooperation for that.
I feared the worst, and I still fear the worst.
Okumura has reached out to politicians and the United Nations, hoping they negotiate some kind of ceasefire. He says Ramona's hotel is well known for housing medical personnel.
But I'm just worried about mistakes, errors that happen in war with such a volume of artillery shells and missiles. That I just caution her and hope and wish for the best. And that's all we can do now. And this is like as bad as it could be, except so far she hasn't been injured. So I'm grateful.
We tried to speak with Ramona directly tonight, but the internet and electricity went out. We also tried to reach her by phone, but she feared they would be exposed. And today happens to be her birthday. Jolani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
Well, stay tuned to Hawaii News Now for the latest updates out of the Middle East. Now, back here on Oahu, we are 5 days out from the planned defueling of Red Hill, and a major piece of that operation is on its way to Oahu. This is a look at the Empire State tanker approaching Pearl Harbor. It's coming in from Washington State, and it is the first tanker to be brought here for the operation, and it will be used to transport drain fuel from Red Hill to other locations throughout the Pacific. The Empire State can hold about 11 million gallons of fuel. There are about 104 million gallons currently stored in the Red Hill underground tanks.
Hawaii County Police have charged a man with 11 crimes tied to an alleged road rage incident involving gunfire. 36-year-old Adib Bea is accused of tailgating a driver Thursday night on Papaya Farms Road in Pahoa. Court documents say the victim admitted he then followed Bea after Bea passed him. But then Bea allegedly got out of his truck and opened fire, missing the other driver. The 11 charges against him include terroristic threatening, firearms, and drug offenses. His bail is set at $267,000.
Well, on Maui, 2 more burn zones will soon be reopening for Lahaina residents. This Friday and Saturday, those with vehicle passes can access the areas of Kahoma Village Loop to Honoapi'ilani Highway and Front Street from Aholo Road to the Kauaula Stream. Visiting hours will be from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Those vehicle passes can be picked up at the Lahaina Civic Center and the Maui County Building in Wailuku.
Well, those still without a home in Lahaina are being helped by a new shelter. Our Casey Lund explains why it's been so successful and who can now stay there.
Aloha from Pu'uhonua Onene. We're near the Kahului Airport off Hana Highway. This opened on September 29th. Now there are 71 residents here. They focused on those homeless people in Lahaina that didn't have a roof over their head prior to the fire on August 8th. That lost everything. Now they're opening this shelter up to other homeless individuals on Maui. This is different though. I talked to a number of the residents here, the 71 people that now call this home, who say this is unlike any place they've been sheltered before.
Since being displaced, I went through FEMA, went through Red Cross, and they put me up at the hotel in Lahaina. And then because I'm like homeless, I have to leave there eventually. So they gave me enough notice, and 2 representatives from here knocked on my door and said, "What are you doing after this?" And I said, "I'm not sure. I really have nowhere to go." And I was really hesitant to come here, because when I first called, they go, "Well, you'd be sharing a tent and stuff." And I'm like, "Nah, okay." But then when I got here and saw the place, I was blown away.
We got everything that we need. I mean, everything, down to hygiene, everything, clothes. Like they provide us everything. 3 meals a day. Who can ask for more? I'm picking up weight. But yeah, they serve us 3 meals a day, and the staff is nice. Most of the people, we know each other from out there, so we all get along, try to get along at least, yeah.
That's Renee Kaina, who was living in Lahaina years ago, but she had her struggles and even had to go to Oahu for rehab. Eventually, though, she returned to Maui and was living in Lahaina out of her van when the fire took all that she had, the very little she had. She was one of the many homeless people who were identified and connected with this shelter. She says if it wasn't for this place, she's not sure where she would be. Now her and her partner have a safe place to sleep at night and a shot at a brighter future. After hearing how happy some of these residents were, I wanted to know what this shelter is doing right.
I think they probably said it more than I could say it. I know that those of us that have been coordinating and collaborating for many years out on the street have just been keeping lists of what are requested by the unsheltered, which is medical care, counseling, and all of this on site, and consistent meals, access to showers, and then some freedom and agency that they can make decisions for themselves rather than having to follow rather rigid rules.
Of course, there are rules. No drugs or alcohol are allowed in living spaces. But as Nicole from Maui Rapid Response mentioned there, this is unlike any of the shelters. Many people can come here and go as they please. She said just yesterday when we interviewed her, several residents were out for job interviews. Now the shelter is being opened up to other homeless individuals on the island of Maui. Of the 71 people who are here, they're all, again, mostly folks that were displaced in Lahaina. Now there are 150 beds total. That's the capacity. So Pu'uhonua Onene are looking for other people who might need some of these services beyond just a shelter. They'll also be connected with resources, case managers to help them find a brighter future. Reporting in Kahului, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back over to Oahu.
New water quality sensors are now in place in the ocean off Lahaina. They were installed by a team from Manoa and the Pacific Whale Foundation. The sensors measure contaminants from any runoff in the fire zone. Last month, USGS divers found a thick sludge of ash, debris, and fiberglass on the Lahaina harbor floor. So far, the sludge has not been found during dives around Mala Wharf.
So far, we haven't really seen any kind of impacts. Obviously, like the samples that the UH is taking, they're going to, find things that aren't visually apparent, which is, we're just looking while we're diving, but they're going to have the real, chemical kind of results.
The data results will be publicly available within the next few months.
Since reopening West Maui to tourism on Sunday, experts say it's too early to tell if there's been a major economic impact. On Sunday, there were just under 4,000 domestic arrivals, and that's actually slightly lower than the average daily arrivals for the week leading up to the reopening.
You can't just announce we're going to reopen and expect visitors to show up and start spending their money and helping these 8,800 people get back to work. There has to be a planning process. We still have precious little information about what, say, Thanksgiving and Christmas will look like. We know that in the month of October, the occupancy rates, what the hoteliers have on their books, is still extremely low in West Maui.
UHero predicts Maui could see about 60% of their visitors return from pre-fire levels by the end of the year and 80% in 2024.
All right, and turning our attention to weather right now, and a lot of travelers are coming from the West Coast. Here is a live look at LAX. Sunny in LA as always. We'll have your full forecast with Guy Hoggy here at home after this quick break.
All of the state is under some level of drought. These red areas, that's the areas worse off. And if anything, will get worse before things will get better. Right now, extreme drought for the South Point area of Hawaii Island, as well as Lahaina and Kihei. They're suffering from extreme drought. But again, everywhere in the state suffering from at least abnormally dry to moderate to severe drought conditions. And the bad thing is there's no relief in sight. We're not expecting any significant, consistent rainfall to help us out. So the landscape is very dry and to a large extent fire prone. So today we'll get a light trade and breeze. Humidity levels not that high, but tomorrow with those variable winds taking over, the weather pattern changes slightly. We'll get to early morning sunshine for the remainder of this. Afternoon clouds will likely build up, and that cloud buildup over interior areas as well as leeward sides might spawn a few spotty showers. If we're lucky, maybe a few spotty downpours. And during this stretch, there's a good chance for some spinners. We're talking waterspouts and funnel clouds to form as well. But still, we've got lots of sunshine, very dry conditions aside from those spotty showers, and that's all the way through Tuesday. And again, heads up, big swells coming into the country Saturday and Tuesday.
Now to check out some news from the feeds. Another interest rate hike this year is likely. That's according to newly released minutes from the Federal Reserve's September meeting. Most Fed officials say they believe another rate increase would be appropriate. They noted it depends on how inflation responds to the 11 hikes that have taken place since last March. A minority of those in the meeting said they didn't think more increases would be necessary. For now, financial markets are counting on the Fed leaving the interest rates alone in its November meeting, with the possibility of an increase in December. The Fed kept its key lending rate, which stands at a 22-year high, steady in September.
The state of Utah is suing the popular social media platform TikTok over allegations it misled the public about safety. The state's attorney general accuses the app of violating consumer protection laws and employs addictive features to get children to sign up. The complaint also says TikTok failed to disclose its links to its China-based parent company. TikTok has yet to issue a response.
And now a sad update to a story we told you about a few days ago. In Chicago, a 104-year-old woman who just last week may have set a new record as the world's oldest skydiver has died. Dorothy Hoffner passed at a senior living community Monday morning. Last week, she pulled off a tandem skydive from an altitude of 13,500 feet. Friends are filing paperwork on her behalf to have the historic jump officially certified by Guinness World Records. Of course, she would have that honor posthumously.
Well, it has become a Halloween tradition, the House of 1,000 Pumpkins in Cranston, Rhode Island. Sam Reed takes us there.
Back behind Tim Perry's home in Cranston, pumpkins are being picked up and brought in a bag out front.
Usually I don't start till October 1st, but this year I wanted to be done for October 1st.
While many decorate for fall, Tim takes it to another level.
I mean, I've always loved Halloween ever since I was a kid.
Because after learning about the haunted holiday, it was love at first fright.
My favorite horror movie is A House of 1,000 Corpses.
And for the last 15 years, 365 days a year, he's carving craft pumpkins using an X-Acto knife.
I created the House of 1,000 Pumpkins.
They come out of storage at the start of autumn. He positions them perfectly on his lawn. And trust me, they're scary good.
Once they're all out, I'm still working on it. It'll be close to 1,400.
For the last 3 years, typically 200 a year, are added to his collection.
A lot of my pumpkins are actually rock bands because I'm really into rock music.
He takes a week off of work, wiring them and bolting them into a base. And then when the sun sets at the start of spooky season, the pumpkins come out to play.
I have them on from 5 to 11 p.m.
While it might not be a nightmare on Elm Street, it's a dream come true for Tim, whose home is coincidentally on Elm Drive.
A lot of times I'll just be quiet and listen to them talk and say good things. It's nice to hear good things even when they don't know I'm around. So
The house of more than 1,000 pumpkins is irresistible and quite the sight to see.
I get tons of great remarks. Everybody thanks me for doing it. They say I'm the best thing in the neighborhood. They look forward to it every year. The kids go nuts. They're screaming, running around.
The display not only brightens the spirits of others who see it, but it's helping families affected by cancer through a Facebook fundraiser.
My wife was diagnosed with a type of cancer 2 years ago, and she's doing okay, and hopefully the cancer's done.
This dazzling display will stay up until the big day. Tim says he enjoys giving people pumpkin to talk about.
On a typical night, there'll just be traffic, constant traffic. You know, it's great.
It's what you live for.
It's what I live for. Halloween, it's the best.
Showing you something good. I'm Sam Reed.
What a cool story, huh, Mark?
Pumpkin to talk about,
Pumpkin
right?
to talk about.
You know,
that is the pun of the day right there.
You really squashed that project, so it looks really good.
And with that, we should just be done. Just end the show on that note.
Go back and forth. She wants to play that game, so will I.
Oh, we love it. But we actually have a few more good news stories, and we're going to take you now to Japan. Take a listen here. You are looking at an auction for 3 luxury matsutake mushrooms. Guess how much they fetch, Mark?
I mean, $4 a pound? No?
Try $6,200.
What?
This is the season's first auction in Western Japan. The auction came about 2 weeks later than usual due to this summer's extreme heat and lack of rain, and those who attended the auction said the much worried quality of the fungus seemed promising. The traditional Japanese inn that made the winning bid said the matsutake was fresh and rich of aroma and looked delicious, and they said they will be offering it to their customers.
I'm wondering how it's prepared.
I know, right?
want to see here.
$6,200 though.
With ingredients like that, you really just you got to be simple, right?
Yeah.
You can't just be mixing it up into like a just putting it into
Stew
a pan
or
or anything like
yeah.
that, right? You have to be really careful there. One more story before we head out. NASA scientists are now working to uncover the mysteries of an asteroid sample recently brought back to Earth. It is believed to contain the building blocks of life. Experts say it's carbon-rich with water in the form of hydrated clay minerals. The rock comes from a 4.5 billion-year-old asteroid named Bennu that passes close to Earth every 6 years. Ooh. So who knows what could be gained from this, but it is very cool. It's going to be on display at Houston's Johnson Space Center and also at the Smithsonian and the Arizona Museum.
Let's go ahead and end today with a live look outside sunny Honolulu. We thank you so much for watching. This is Now. Tune in at 4 o'clock when Mark is back at the desk.